Now you can put the power of the National Speedway Directory in the palm of your hand with the Track Guide app. Available for iPhone on iTunes and Android on Google Play. Search by track type, state, track service, or name. One touch can take you right to the track's website or call for more information. You can even get directions right on your phone. Speedway's online to learn more. Locate your favorite track or racing event with the Track Guide app.
Hey, this is Kyle Busch, and you're listening to RaceTalkRadio.com.
You're listening to Race Talk Radio, online at racetalkradio.com.
Welcome back to Track Source Radio on RaceTalkRadio.com. Well, folks, it is a huge year coming up with folks at the Performance Racing Industry Trade Show. Heading back to the Indiana Convention Center where it all started, and also kind of reuniting the entire motorsports world at one big convention. And I'll tell you, the buzz that I hear from exhibitors that are going to be there and folks that are looking to attend, I don't know if I have felt this much excitement this far away from the show in many, many years. And joining us from PRI to talk about some of the changes and talk about some of the exciting things that you'll see down there in Indiana, it's John Kilroy. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dennis, for having me on.
John, I'll tell you, I know a lot of exhibitors that I have talked to over the years, and none of them would admit it up front, but they were tired of all of the deal with having to do two trade shows almost back to back. It was driving them nuts, and it was doubling their cost, not doubling their business. I think this move that you guys made, bringing PRI back to Indiana and back as a united convention for the first time in several years, is a brilliant move, and I think the motorsports industry is going to be really excited about this adventure.
It's been a real shot of positive energy into the racing industry. It's been a couple tough years since the change in the economy back in 2008, and we've got a lot of pats on the backs of appreciation from especially our exhibitors who will save thousands of dollars, the ones who are in both shows, now that their exhibiting costs are reduced to just one show. So they're very happy, very appreciative. We have tons of people just glad we're back in the Midwest. They love the city of Indianapolis, and all signs are good. The number of exhibitors we've got so far for this year's show is more than 200 than what we ended up with last year in Orlando. And attendance development signs are great. So this whole thing is cooking, and we're seeing a barn burner about to happen in December.
We're seeing all of the results now when we go over to performanceracing.com and click on the trade show, check out all the information. But this is a year-round business to put on the show about the business of racing.
It very much is. We went to the IMIS show last year. We had announced that we had purchased the show at our show last year and went to the IMIS show. And I stayed a whole extra week there to right away start negotiating with the hotels to get really good rates for our attendees. So it's been a year-round event, but it's been a lot of fun because there's just so much positive energy behind it.
Okay, John, right here on Track Source Radio, on Race Talk Radio, we don't just kind of shovel it. We kind of face the things straight on. Have you heard any grumbling at all from folks that are going to miss Orlando?
You know, there's always something. When you put on an event and there's 40,000 people involved, everybody's going to have differences of opinion, and that's what makes this country great. And what makes racing great is they'll tell you. And the biggest grumbling we got was that it's going to be colder in Indianapolis than it was in Orlando. And that was pretty much it. Everything else is we're full steam ahead. And I guess one more challenge is we want to work really hard to still continue to deliver an international audience for our exhibitors. And that's a little bit different. But right now, the excitement is so big, it's beyond the borders of the United States. It's out in Australia. It's over in Europe. It's down South America. So I think we'll still have very good international attendance this year.
And since PRI left Indianapolis, Indianapolis has grown up. It is such a better city now than it was, say, 5 or 10 years ago.
Yeah, I love Indianapolis the way it was 5 or 10 years ago, and now it hasn't changed that much to me, where I always enjoyed the charm of some of my favorite restaurants and places to hang out. The people there are just really wonderful, friendly Midwest people. We love that. Downtown Indianapolis is safe. It was safe then. It's still safe now. The hotels was in walking distance to the convention center, and so they've done a spectacular job designing that town for the citizenry and then for people coming to town for a trade show. The one big new experience I had, I guess there's two new experiences, is that there's an Italian restaurant in the JW Marriott that's unbelievable, and that wasn't there when we were last in Indianapolis. And then there's a microbrewery south of the football stadium, and that's kind of a new phenomenon. They didn't used to have that back then, and that was really a cool place with good food and good beer. So there's some fun new places to explore.
Oh, it's going to be a great time, and parking at the Indiana Convention Center pretty convenient as well for the folks that want to stay on the fringes of town. So I think you've got a little bit of everything there at the Indiana Convention Center, a fabulous facility. And speaking of the trade show, which kicks off December 12th and goes to the 14th, you got some fun events going on and even some fun seminar shows going on before the convention kicks off.
Yeah, the PRI trade show has evolved into something bigger than just our event. So down in Orlando, we started inviting some really neat events to kind of co-locate with us. So they could bring in their own audience, and we would just merge everything when the PRI trade show opens its doors. So the Advanced Engineering Technology Conference, we'll get about 300 professional race engine builders in town on Monday to find out the latest strategies for horsepower. We'll have the Racetrack Business Conference, which Tim Frost started, the National Speedway Directory. He did it last year, just had a killer first-time event, and this year he's ramping it up. So now Mark Miles, who's running the Holman Company, which owns Indianapolis Motor Speedway, he'll be the keynote speaker. We've also created within the show a new destination. It's called the Race Safety and Technology Center. And there we'll have Jim Campbell, who heads the racing efforts for General Motors. He'll give a talk about contemporary racing technology. We'll have Dr. Terry Trammell, a famed motorsport surgeon, give a talk about race safety. So we've got a lot going on throughout the whole week.
And to kick off, the famous breakfast to kick off PRI is one of the most fun events of the year. Dave Despain is back, and he has a new special guest this year.
Yeah, we're very excited about this. Richard Petty has been on our list as a speaker for the last 25 years, and we just wanted to get him to the breakfast so bad. And this year he agreed to do it. So it was a big win for us. It'll be great to have him share his colorful racing stories with Dave Despain and the audience. And we're really excited to have him there. And I should say also that the Petty family, they're really appreciative of the work that PRI has done and our attendees and exhibitors and Sunnin to raise money for the Victory Junction Gang. And that's a camp that's a fun place for children who have very serious illnesses, sometimes terminal illnesses. And they can go there and enjoy life for a week. And so Kyle Petty and his wife Patty started up Victory Junction Gang Camp. And we have an engine charity sweepstakes where we raffle off a race engine by Rare Morrison. And all that money goes right over to Victory Junction Gang Camp. So when we approached Richard, I think that was part of the reason he did it, is because there's also a connection there with the Victory Junction Gang Camp in terms of fundraising.
It is a fabulous, fabulous facility and a great way to honor his grandson, Adam, of course. And
yes.
Richard Petty is always entertaining, folks, and you're never quite sure what King Richard is going to say. Talk about a guy that's unscripted and unedited. It kind of reminds me back, a bunch of years when you had old Smokey Eunuch at the breakfast. I think we're going to have the same level of candor from Richard Petty, and he is a guy that I know the PRI attendees are going to enjoy.
It's a great environment for somebody like Richard, and it was a great environment for Smokey because it's a bunch of races in the audience. So It's not fans. It's not the Elks Club. It's not the Chamber of Commerce. I mean, these are their people, and they adore Smokey, and they adored Smokey, and they adore Richard Petty, and all that he's accomplished. And so it's a perfect mix of speaker and audience. And they really feel free, I think, in our breakfast to just kind of let it fly.
Oh, it's always going to be entertaining, folks. What is the biggest challenge getting both of the shows here all united and back to Indiana this year? What has been your biggest challenge?
I think the biggest challenge, the one that weighed most heavily on our minds, was that the IMIS show, which SEMA purchased and consolidated into the PRI trade show, and SEMA owns PRI as well. We wanted to make sure that the companies who exhibited only in the IMIS show really felt like they were being embraced by the PRI team, welcomed into our event, and we wanted to make sure they knew that the level of customer service that they got from the IMS show, they get the same level of customer service from the PRI team. So that was just very important for us to make them feel welcome in this big change, and I really believe we've accomplished that. I spoke with Chris Paulson. I spoke with him several times over the past 12 months, and I just asked Chris, who was one of the owners of the IMS show, and I really appreciate the IMS owners agreeing to this whole concept of uniting the two shows, and I asked Chris, we've done this thing, and we've done our best to bring the exhibitors into what we're doing. Do you hear of any problems? And Chris said he hasn't heard of one problem. So we feel like it's mission accomplished. We're never going to quite give up as far as making sure the welcoming takes place, but that's what our concern was. We just want to make sure they felt like they were part of something and integrated in something and united with us. And for the most part, we think that's happened, and we really do welcome them.
John, one of the things I hear from people in other industries is, these trade shows, they're a thing of the past. But in the racing world, can you explain why the PRI trade show is even more relevant in this day and age where everybody's connected, but we don't talk to each other?
That's very true. And I'm an older guy, and I don't have the Internet kind of running my life. So I run my life separately from the Internet activities, which is it's fine for people who do all that. But I really do believe that if you want to be competitive today, you have to do two things. You have to be stay up and up to date on contemporary racing technology. And when it comes to the PRI trade show, some of the best moments in the PRI trade show is not visiting with the companies you know, the companies you expect to be there. Sometimes it's a company you never heard of before, and the thing he's selling, and the racing product he has on display, you didn't know it existed, and it's going to make you faster. That's number one. Number two, the brain power when it comes to racing, that's all in one place, all in one time, inside that hall, is just astounding. And to go through there and have a bunch of technical conversations in addition to conversations about the business of racing is a real opportunity to get strategies together that will help you win races. So those two things happen at a trade show, and you just can't miss it. If you're in the racing business, you can't miss it.
For someone who owns a small race team or a racetrack and has never been to PRI before, can you give them the sales pitch on why they should sign up and get down there to Indy on December 12th or the 14th this year?
It's funny, people in racing, especially people who own race cars, they'll spend a lot of money on different aspects of going racing. And when you think about the PRI trade show, if you've never been there, what racers refer to it as is Racer's Heaven, the Racer Candy Store, and to spend the money just to get to Indianapolis and get a reasonable hotel room and have 3 days to go through that whole hall talking to people and seeing all the new racing products. I mean, it just pays off for itself over and over and over again. And then for everybody who owns a racing business, they can go there and find new product lines to add to their speed shop, add to their motors that they're building, and really find ways to make more money in the following race season. And so if you've never been there, it's your dream, because everywhere you look in this whole convention center is hardcore racing.
And you just never know who you're going to run into and strike up a conversation with. Over the years, I have run into Roger Penske and gotten a chance to chat with him. I've gotten to talk to Robert Yates, and I've got to talk to Bob Bondurant, all just walking through the aisles and striking up a conversation. It is amazing, the collection of brilliant minds and great racers from all walks of life that will be all there. It's December 12th through the 14th, back in Indianapolis, bigger and better than ever. It's PRI 2013. We are going to be bringing you updates right up to the show right here on Track Source Radio each and every week. John, before I let you go, want to give you a chance to thank some of the folks behind the scenes and any of the folks from a standpoint of companies and whatnot that deserve a little love for helping out and helping with this great transition.
You know, the first group that I'd like to thank is kind of the civic organizations that we work with in Indianapolis. So we approached them last year with this whole concept of there's the IMS show. If we consolidate with the PRI trade show, this thing's going to blow up. It's going to be much bigger than it was when it was just the IMS show. We need your help. We need that whole convention center. And they had other kinds of shows and events already scheduled in the convention center. We need all the hotel rooms. We need a bunch of stuff to make this whole thing happen. So the Indianapolis kind of tourism bureau is called Visit Indy. They did a heck of a job getting behind this in a really rapid way so we could pull this off. And also the folks who run the Indiana Convention Center, same thing. They just got it in gear and said, we'll make this happen. So that's the great beginning point for us. So I'd especially like to thank them.
PerformanceRacing.com. That's where you can find out more information about the big trade show. Gets everybody in the racing industry together for 3 long days in Indianapolis, Indiana. Mr. John Kilroy, thank you so much for joining us tonight on Track Source Radio.
Thank you, Dennis. Just one more thing. It's trade only, so it's not for race fans. I'm sorry, but you have to be part of a professional race team or have a racing business. This has been a great opportunity for us, Dennis. Thank you so much.
That's going to wrap it up for another exciting edition of Track Source Radio on RaceTalkRadio.com. Looking for some exciting racing action in your backyard? Head over to SpeedwaysOnline.com, click events, and find a track racing near you. For Tim Frost of the National Speedway Directory, this is Dennis Michelson, and we'll see you at the track.